Sure. I just started the recording.
Okay.
So-
So, good evening. Joe, if you want to take the roll call, please.
Ms. Cimaroli,
Here.
Mr. Nath. I saw him sign in.
I'm here, sorry.
That's okay. Mr. Tolmer,
Here.
Mr. Lennon, he said he'll be late. Mr. Livingston,
Here.
and I'm Joe Cower.
Right. So to start, do we have any speakers this evening? Anybody that would like to speak that signed up?
Excuse me, I thought the speakers came at the end of your meeting, not at the beginning of your meeting.
A few weeks, in February, we actually started to have it in the beginning, just to keep it a
Great
little
idea.
more organized, especially with the upcoming issues or discussions that we're going to have. So,
I think that's a major improvement.
okay.
I'd like to speak unless there are others that want to speak before me, they can go ahead.
Well, I don't know. Is there anybody else that signed up, Joe? No?
No.
Okay. All right. So go ahead, Bob.
Okay, hi, everybody. Excuse me. I was curious about what I had given our manager, Joe Cower, 3, I don't know, packets of information. The one was February the 7th. The second was February the 15th. The third one, I don't know when that was after that. But primarily, the first one was a result of a aerial photograph that was sent to me by one of the people at the Army Corps of Engineers showing the original route of the McLaughlin Creek under the Baldwin Street Bridge and the Railroad Street Bridge. And just to get to the point, it shows that the construction of a culvert over the original route changed the contour of the more gradual right-hand 90-degree turn north toward Collier Township greatly, and it has been essentially the cause of the flooding of 2 major areas of Bridgeville. And I want to mention something else that I just found about 3 days ago. I found the permit that was issued by the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection to allow that culvert to be built, and you should be able to somehow politically get DEP to pay for replacing that culvert with a bridge, because they endorsed and permitted its construction, and it's been verified by DEP, a 1980 DEP study, a study I did about 4 years ago myself, and the study was just done, I think, last year by the engineering school at the University of Pittsburgh, that the opening under the culvert is something like 14 or 17 cubic feet of water a second, and it should have been double that. So that's something for you to think about, okay? Because I think you have a very good argument there to have that bridge replaced. And the other thing I wanted to emphasize, the other thing that the first packet of information illustrated was the flooding is not being caused by the Baldwin Street, the Bar Hill Road Bridge. It's being caused by the culvert. And if you take a closer look at that, despite what any alleged professionals claim, you'll find out that that's a fact. And the third packet of information I gave Joe to email to you guys was it was primarily about, there's a more detailed plan showing the solution to the Bower Hill Road traffic congestion problem and the importance of making of not eliminating Bower Hill Road from the cement company to the McLaughlin Run Road intersection, but keeping it as 2 lanes heading west toward Washington Avenue and making Baldwin Street 2 lanes east heading in the opposite direction. And I think the Lennon Smith engineering firm did do a study or did
Right.
provide everybody a drawing that indicates that 8-foot, 150-foot long ramp from right next to the Bower Hill Road Bridge down to Baldwin Street is certainly viable.
Okay.
And just to sum up, I'm sure you're all knowledgeable to some extent about PennDOT's desire to increase its never-ending desire for more millions of dollars a year to build roads and whatever they want to spend it on by putting a toll booth on I-70 9 right by the Bridgeville or on top of the Bridgeville exit. You guys should be outraged about that even being mentioned by PennDOT as a possibility, considering that they have ignored the traffic congestion problem on Washington Pike through South Fayette, Bridgeville, and Collier for 50 years.
Okay.
It
All right.
caused the
I got a question too.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
You said that somebody gave you that information. Can you clarify who it was?
About,
What information is that?
You said that somebody gave you the aerial photo and everything and showing you where the flooding was or what caused the flooding. You said somebody, but you didn't say who gave it to you, gave you that information.
Yeah, it was a young lady. I have her name somewhere. It'll be easier for me to get. But tell me, have you guys been receiving the emails of these 3 packets of information? And have you been reading or studying the drawings? On the first one, the very first drawing was a copy, as best that I could make it, of the original aerial photograph of the route of the McLaughlin Run Creek going under the railroad bridge.
Ms. Cimaroli,
yes,
this is Joe. I
Yes.
just want to state that I did not share this with Planning Commission. Mr. Fryer asked me to share that with Borough Council, and it
okay,
was shared with Council, not Planning Commission.
okay, all right.
Oh,
Well, why- why don't-
Joe, excuse me. I'm sorry. I thought you were sending it to the Planning Commission as well. I might mention, by the way, the aerial photograph, it has 1959 is the year in which it was taken. But I'll be glad to get I guess the woman's name from the Army Corps of Engineers that sent it to me. I would have no access of getting this stuff.
Okay.
But at
Well,
any
we-
rate, I'll send the guys on the planning committee. I don't know, Joe, would it be too much trouble for you to email the guys on the planning commission that stuff too?
Not at all.
All right. We'll
Okay,
take a
I'll-
look at them.
Okay. And at any rate, I'd like to sum up just by saying this. Since you guys are, when you guys invited, I guess, the various city planning companies to make proposals to devise a comprehensive development plan for Bridgeville, what did you ask them for? What did you define any of the problems that you'd like to get resolved? When you sent, or when you, I don't know, was it done on the internet? Was it done in the newspaper? How did you invite these people to present, make offers to become engaged with you? And incidentally, the companies you've chosen, from what I know, they're outstanding. But what did you ask them? What problems did you ask them to solve?
Listen, why don't we, Bob, if you don't mind, why don't we move on with our business and we'll discuss that at the end? All right?
Oh,
Because
wonderful.
there was an RFP that had to go out to request information. And
Okay.
they returned their, based upon the RFPs, it was returned to us answering their solutions or their their ideas in regards to a planning mechanism to design a update to our comprehensive plan.
Oh, that's good. I'll be happy to hang around and listen. And once again, thanks for the opportunity of giving you guys my thoughts about the problem. But this is going to be the most important thing you guys do in your lifetimes. Excuse me for, that's not an exaggeration, but now is the time to get the total comprehensive plan that'll solve Bridgeville's 50-year-old traffic congestion problem and establish the economic basis for this community. But thank you for allowing me to speak, and I'll be happy to listen to your discussions of the issue.
All right, thanks. All right. Anybody else? Any other questions for Bob? All right, so should we move on to the approval or the adoption of the February 22nd, 2021 meeting minutes? Anybody have any questions or issues with it? No? All right,
I'd make a motion to adopt as written.
okay. All in favor?
You need a second.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, anybody opposed? All right, motion passes. Now, one of the things that I did was I took it upon myself to move the new business of the discussion of the scoping, the preliminary scoping, things that did not make it into the comprehensive plan update. And Joe, I sent this all to you, to the committee members. All right. And basically, when I looked at what we had done, Tim, what you had done so great, was to pull out things that I felt perhaps needed to be addressed. Now, by far, if anybody has any questions or any issues, please bring them forward at this time. But these are the things that I saw: small town charm, borough cleanup. Let's see, what else? The property. Can you take that up a little bit there, Tim, Joe? All right, evaluation of existing parcels, traffic study, and code enforcement was something that was taken over. So we're not even going to bother with that. Does anybody have any additions to this list? All right.
Justine, the only question is, so where you've got some of these things being partially included in the scope of the comprehensive study, what's the point of comparison that you're using there?
Only because I just wanted to basically say that there were some things that were like small town charm. All right, some of that is included in the comprehensive plan and the request for the RFP.
Just by virtue of what you're asking them to put the solution
Correct.
together. I got
Correct.
you. Okay.
But I mean, you know, like small town charm, yes. Are they going to look at Main Street? Are they going to look at the businesses and so forth? Yes, yes, yes. But at the same time, you know, do we want to clean up Main Street? Do we want to, you know, add flowers, that sort of thing? That's why I sort of broke it down into what was included and what was not. All right. So again, any additions to this? And did I leave out anything?
I mean, we talked about parks and stuff and, you know,
Right.
but I think that might be a separate issue on its own.
Correct. That's what I was thinking. I mean,
Yeah.
I know that in the RFP, it had requested the parks be looked at as to, you know, the efficiency and the effectiveness and that
Yeah.
stuff. I think growing parks or adding to the parks, we can get a better understanding before we even start the process.
Sure.
All right. Dale, any comments? Do you think that pedestrian safety is included enough into the RFP?
Well, between the RFP and the active,
Right,
active
active
transportation
Allegheny,
plan,
right,
I think that's one of the things we're kind of on our way with.
Right,
And that's going to be something that we're going to continue to talk about. It's not going to be solved this year or next year, but it's,
Right.
we're starting down that road.
okay,
So
all right,
I'm fine with it.
okay. So now, since Tim, you did such a great job with all of our forms last year, do you think, or does anybody have any ideas to whether or not these would work? Your charts or your evaluations would work for this process, or do we want to go less formal?
For which process? Sorry, just. so you know, quick follow.
The scoping process to determine how we're going to handle these. I mean, last month you said that you're looking at the low hanging fruit. Are these the items that you were thinking about when we discussed that?
Yeah, it was the
Okay.
stuff that kind of got left behind when we said,
Correct.
okay, of all the 7 or 8 items that we talked about, the one that we all confidently moved forward on was let's ask for the funding for the comprehensive plan. Some of that stuff, I think, man, I forget who made the point, but it was like, look, if we pursue too many of these other things in the absence of that, we're kind of putting the cart in front of the horse. And wouldn't it be better to do that in a more logical and analytical plan way? So yeah,
Right.
These are the things that were left over whenever
Correct.
we tabled them at the end of last year.
So your concept scoping template with this, is that too convoluted for this process, or would it work?
I mean, that was a kind of a point in time activity to just put a little bit of meat on the bones of what those concepts were. I think if we're kicking around which ones of these do we want to move forward on and how,
Right,
might not be a bad place to start, but it's going to very quickly get to the point of saying, okay, how do we practically start to execute some of these
correct. Okay,
things? Yeah.
Justine,
yeah,
I think maybe, I don't know, we could, I mean, we're not talking about, like, when we did last year, when we worked on it, I mean, there was a lot of different topics we wanted to address,
right,
to narrow it down to, 4 that we really liked. And these were kind of like, we talked about the low hanging fruit. And particularly, one of the reasons why these are here is, from my understanding, is we're not talking about a lot of money.
Right,
These are things that would be more sweat equity and, like borough cleanup. So I don't know, maybe it's something where we can get together and figure out, okay, put a dollar figure. What would be the cost of, what would be the cost involved with these? How many people you think we would need to, if we're gonna do a borough cleanup, would
Right.
that involve like organizing, a group of volunteers or something like,
right,
and just figure out what resources would be needed to do each of these items, and based off of what those resources are they realistic?
right, okay. So, and I agree, I think that we can keep this somewhat less formal than the prior, because these are things that either involve the community or very little dollars.
Right.
So I guess, do we want to take a look at these and actually put down some thoughts as to what we think might be a good idea? And then maybe triage what everybody's saying and put the notes, evaluate everything, and then determine what's important and the importance and the cost.
Sure, I guess. I mean, yeah, that makes sense.
Tim, you're the analytical one. What do you think?
Let me just back up a step. Is the intent for us to pick a couple of things that we can start to move on in the next couple of months?
Correct.
That's what we're trying to get to. Right?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
What I was thinking at, if you're looking at a schedule for the rest of the year, because I think by this time last year, we already had your schedule. I mean,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
had everything down pat and we knew what we had to do. So I'm trying to go that route.
Yep.
All right. So initially what I was thinking was that we do this a little informally. we present or we look at everything that we think is included in this and then discuss it and then say, let's get everything on the table, or at least 2 of them on the table in April and 2 of them in May with a solution or an issue to move certain things forward in June.
Mm,
And then if, you know, the plans include money or funding or whatever, we move that into the August, September timeframe to council so that they could include it in their budgets.
Yeah,
Or, I
okay.
don't know, Joe, is there a certain time that the grants fall in to effect? Or are they any time throughout the calendar year?
It's not specific. It's specific to the program. So
Okay, all right, all right. So,
Grant season.
right. Is there a budget season?
yes, you nailed it.
There is a budget season.
Yeah.
Right, right. So any comments, any ideas? I mean, I'll certainly I'll flesh out my thoughts a little bit and then email you guys and see whether or not you're willing to, if you think we can adhere to that schedule. All right,
And one general question, I should probably know this at this point, Joe, but when it comes to budget stuff, I know we're covered for the comprehensive plan, or at least 50% of it. Do we have like a line item that's got even a couple of $100 or a couple of $1,000 in the event that we come up with things like this mid-year? Let's make stuff up and say we're going to spend this Saturday beautifying Washington Pike for spring. Is that
I
just
think,
a hard no at this point, or
no, I think it
is there something
depends
we can
on,
tap into?
it depends on the project, because some things just fit just general operations, but there's a lot of things in our budget this year that we've already pulled the trigger on that came out of last year's planning commission meetings. We spent $5,000 on welcome signs that'll be going up within the next couple of weeks. We put money in to do the comprehensive plan to start that. We put money aside to do some pedestrian improvement signage. So a lot of it has been answered. So it's just Rome wasn't built in a day. We're gonna have to
No,
be
it
cognizant
makes
of
good
that.
sense.
well, even if it comes down to, we're looking at, a thing for 2021, maybe it's just doing an Earth Day and marketing for an Earth Day on Earth Day, whatever, April 17th or whatever. So, and also too, I have no problem going out and trying to perhaps get flowers or whatever. It's just that we would need some assistance in planting those flowers. And in which case, does that come out of the general?
Yeah, I think it's something that we could work out.
Okay, all right. So, I mean, let's go grand and see what happens, right? Or are you discouraged? Go ahead, Del.
Oh, go ahead and finish this. I do have one comment regarding this list that you put together.
Okay, all right. No, I don't want to discourage anybody, but I think that we can have a wish list. I mean, it doesn't help to have a wish list and see what happens, So if not this year, next year.
Mhm.
All right.
Justine,
Yeah,
one of the issues that was kind of hanging out there from last year was parking.
right.
Is that something that we want to try and further
Yes.
along this year?
Yeah, Joe and I talked, I'm going to talk to parking group and see if they would be willing to visit with us in April. And, just talk, and number one, answer questions. And number two, come up with some sort of ideas to, what their feelings are in regards to the parking situation in Bridgeville. All right.
Well,
So,
in some of the previous discussions that I had with them last year,
uh-huh.
they have, you know, they've got ideas about expanding some of the parking lots, but, you know, I'm not sure that they perceive that there's a parking issue in Bridgeville. And
Well, yeah.
I know that, you know, we've had people come before us over the last couple of years saying, you know, hey, you need to do parking here, you need to do parking there. And I'm not sure whether it's something that we need to look at, that we should be tackling, or if it's, you know, just discussions to be having with the parking authority or.
Well, in my opinion, I'd rather have an open discussion with them and ask the question and have them ask them to answer. So it's on the table.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, I mean, it's all about having some open dialogue.
right. So, all right. Anything else? Joe, do we have to do anything with this situation, or can we move on to other business?
I think we're good.
Okay. All right. So now this is all you, right?
Yeah, just a couple quick updates for the month. As Dale was talking about earlier, we applied for a grant a couple months ago to complete the active transportation plan. We did receive a $22,000 grant from the Active Allegheny program for this effort. And the borough is putting $5,000 of our engineering budget towards the project. So a $27,000 budget project that can hit the ground running once we get approval from the county to proceed. This will address pedestrian issues that's been talked about for a long time. Active, complete streets, you know, bike mode, where the pedestrian issues that Dale was talking about, trail connectivity. So a lot of these big ticket items could be addressed with this active transportation plan. I'm working on an RFP for that project right now that I want to bounce off the county. And once I get their blessing, I'd like to get your input as well, so that if there's anything I'm missing or you'd like to see included in the project,
Okay.
I'd like to get your feedback with that. So it's actually good news that we don't have to wait. The money is here, and this is a good thing for the town, because hopefully we can put, you know, a pen to paper and solve some of these active transportation issues.
Right. So this is all planning, is that correct? I mean, is.
Correct. But and the goal is it's implementable planning. We
Okay.
want, you know, short, medium, long range. This is how you do it. This is what it costs. If it's big, this is where you go to get the money, that
Okay.
kind of thing. Something that we could actually use.
Okay.
So it should be a very good project that has some fruits at the end.
Do we have a time frame that has to be spent, or?
We only got the notice that we were awarded the day of the council meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Alright.
this is very fresh.
Okay. All right.
And we just sent the acknowledgement back to the county last week saying, yeah, we accept the grant. So I anticipate something very soon. So it's
Alright.
moving quick.
All right. And hey, thank you for doing that. I mean, that's great that we can at least take some of these things and get a better, nothing else, get a better understanding as to where we could improve.
And we can get a professional transportation engineer
Right.
giving us facts.
Correct. Good, good. All right. And when do you think that RFP will be out?
I'm hoping that we can have the approval from the council to release it at our April meeting, so we could have it out
Okay.
April, May. So
Okay. All right.
I'll fast track it, provided the county's okay with that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Dale had something.
I want to, you know, commend Joe for his work with the grant application. Good job, Joe.
Yeah.
Good job getting some money.
Yeah, thank you. The second thing was the PennDOT safety review of Washington Avenue. It took a while to get a response back from PennDOT, but I got a letter back from PennDOT on our request we sent a while back, asking for them to do a formal safety review of Washington Avenue. That was our pedestrian concerns that came out of that pedestrian accident late last year. They acknowledged our request, and they said we'll have their safety review between 3 to 5 weeks from last Friday.
Okay.
So if not for the April meeting, we'll definitely have their suggestions for our May meeting.
All right.
And then the third thing I had was regarding the comprehensive plan. Borough Council has directed me to apply for a grant that will basically defray the cost of the project. As you've seen, the proposals came in, it appears to be a $75,000 project spread over 2 years. We've been talking to the state and the state DCD planner regarding our project. I submitted a grant application last week for it. The grant would fund half, so 37.5. We wouldn't know if the grant's awarded until late summer, early fall. So that's where we're at with the comp plan. Regarding that though, as you know, we have 6 proposals received. The council is going to hopefully set up a committee that's made up of planning commission and council members to shortlist those proposals and interview firms over the next couple months, so that when it comes time, if we know our grants awarded or not by end of summer, we can proceed either way, one doing it ourselves or without it.
Joe, did you say council is putting that subgroup together?
Yes. I think it's going to be a joint effort, Tim.
Okay.
That's
So-
the hope right now.
Go ahead, Dale.
So, pushing it back, is that would push back the completion date also?
I think so, Dale. Yes.
Okay, all right. I just try to get a clarification, that's all.
Yeah. I know, I know we wanted to run with this like yesterday, but 75,000, I think it's more responsible if we can wait a couple months and save us $37,000. It's smart. 2 months aren't going to make a difference on issues that's been here 50 years.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's, I have no problem with it. I don't know, what that does to commitments from the consultants.
We've been in discussions because I had a couple of them ask about, where we are, but I think these are questions for when we interview.
Okay.
But we have letters of support already for the comprehensive planning project from our state rep, our state senator, and the school district so far. So,
Okay,
so it seems like we're checking the right boxes.
Good job.
And we've
Bill.
already had a lot of conversation with the state, so we're not going in cold. They know where we are, what our issues are, and what we're hoping to accomplish.
okay. Joe, I have a question about, I'm sorry, was that Tim?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I just have a question. So does the school district, if we got their input already, which is great, does anything depend upon the outcome of the census in 2020? I mean, demographics, age population, that sort of thing? Does that, because if I recall correctly, in 2005, Macklin, who did it, did look at the incomes and the, the populations. So I don't exactly know when the 2020 census is probably going to come out, but I mean, is that our problem or is that a problem?
I honestly don't know, Justine.
Okay, all right. Okay,
I mean, that stuff should be, I remember looking into that when this idea first came up, Justine, and I just Googled real quick to keep me honest here, that all that data was released April 1st of 2020. So it should be there for the taking, the 2020 analytics, assuming they stayed on schedule in the midst
okay,
of
all
last
right,
year.
all right.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Question, just to play out that conversation on the additional 2 months, Joe. Are there implications to what we would or would not do based on that grant, or is it just a function of how we're going to pay for it in the end?
It's just a function of how we're going to pay for this. That's all.
What's the idea of pausing to wait for that grant decision to catch up if we're going either way?
$50,000. Because if it's a $75,000 project, we have $25,000 budgeted for this year. Next year, we got to come up with 50. And if we only have to come up with 37.5 spread over 2 years, we can afford it next year. Coming up with 50 grand next year isn't going to be that easy.
Okay, so,
That's really it.
okay.
All right. All right, any other questions, comments?
I have one other thing, Justine.
Yeah,
I was contacted by Justin.
No, Beinhauer, yeah,
Yes. He get a hold of you?
no,
Okay. Apparently, he's been out doing some trying to gather people, interested parties, that type of thing, for a trail along Chartiers Creek.
right,
And he did a presentation at the library back in 2018. I sent him an email shortly thereafter, and last week he replied to that email.
okay,
And he's been trying to we've been trying to play phone tag and stuff. Anyway, I directed him to Joe Cower.
okay,
I don't know where he's at with stuff, other than I haven't connected with him, so I'm not sure what all's. But Joe, I don't know if he's got a hold of you yet or.
Yeah, he called me on Friday. I invited him to when we have the active, Allegheny project moving forward, we'll have public meetings with that he could sit down to the table then. I suggested that to him.
Okay,
okay.
thank you.
Would it be of any benefit to have him come and talk to us at a meeting or no?
That's
At a
your
planning
decision.
meeting?
I mean, we can.
No, I've talked to him in the past about what his thoughts, and they're in line with what we've talked about. This basically the same things we've talked about as far as connecting,
Right,
not only connecting our parks, but connecting the parks to other communities' parks.
right,
So it would, I mean, for him to come to a meeting and for other people to hear what he's talking about from a different voice,
right.
wouldn't be a bad idea.
Dale, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he's trying to rally the troops to get a couple of trails done.
Right,
And the more people that we can talk to about this, the more interest that we can bring to the table, the easier, more hands make light work.
right,
Well, not only that, Dale, but as Joe, when you go looking for money, if it's for Bridgeville, you can get some money. But if you're looking at multi-municipals asking for the same thing, they're much more agreeable. They like it whenever you start collaborating with other organizations, whether it be a community or whatever. So, getting him, because he wants to, he doesn't want to just be, hey, I want to put a trail in Upper St. Clair. He's like, I want Upper St. Clair to connect to South Fayette and Bridgeville.
right. Well, Joe, let me ask you a question. Was it last year at one point, or it had to have been last year, did you have a discussion with Upper St. Clair when you were talking about this multi-sectional comprehensive plan? Did you not say that St. Clair could have been interested in connecting with Chartiers Trail, with our trail in Chartiers Park, in closing that gap, or no?
No, we did. I met with them about a month and a half, 2 months ago.
Okay,
It was Bridgeville, Upper St. Clair, and South Fayette. The managers of the three towns met, and there was enthusiasm to do it. Basically, the key is that Allegheny Land Trust, to see if they would be interested or willing to connect
Okay.
through their property to Chartiers.
okay, all right. Well, okay,
Because Upper St. Clair at the time, they're working on a plan to connect the rec center to the Montour Trail
okay,
through Cecil to hit the Montour Trail. So the timing of going a couple more feet into Bridgeville, they liked it.
okay,
So the energy is there, and
okay,
the timing is right now.
perfect. All
But we
right,
just need to create a partnership with the land trust.
okay. Do we know, Mike, do you know anybody at the Land Trust?
I could find out.
Okay.
I'll do some digging.
I have a contact already.
Oh,
All
okay,
right.
I just have yet to reach out to him,
okay, all
but
right.
I have it. So maybe one day this week, Mike, if you could call me, I could use your help with this.
Oh, I got a call. I mean, we're getting together this week anyway, so,
All right, so when it comes time,
all right, I'll give you a call tomorrow.
thank you.
All right. Anything else before we move on to the next one? Do we want to talk about pedestrian safety? Did the Chief Chad report anything of outside of the numbers?
He gave us a report a couple months back that summarized,
Right,
I believe,
Okay.
17 pedestrian involved
Right.
accidents over 10 years. And that data was included when we do the RFP for the active transportation plan. So I
Okay.
think when the professional planner will be able to use that
perfect.
to work with.
Okay. All right, well. Oh, I know, hold on for 1 second. Let me get my notes here.
Sorry,
What-
Justine, real quick, can I'm like a step behind tonight. Can you, Joe, is there any overlap between the safety review that PennDOT's doing in the next 3 to 5 weeks, plus or minus, and that active transportation effort? Do they have anything in common?
I honestly don't know. No, I think it's different because, for example, the response back from PennDOT, I think they're going to be looking at more of like pedestrian safety or pedestrian like warning signage and crosswalks in that area, just on that little scope on Washington Avenue, because in their letter, it says, we will review the area and look at overall safety with a focus on pedestrian safety along the corridor. Based on our current workload, we hope to have the results within the next 3 to 5 weeks. Being that the review is focused on pedestrians, please keep in mind that pedestrian signage and markings are owned and maintained by the local municipality. We will forward you the results of the study upon completion. So I think they're just going to point out, public works issues within that district for us to improve or needs to be upgraded or maintained.
Okay. Do we give them that 17 incident report?
Yes.
Or do they have access to all that just by virtue of being who they are?
Both, but they
Okay.
were actually here in person, and I explained to them the letter that we sent to them and all your slides from last year and the chief's report. They had all that data.
Okay, cool.
Yep. And they understood where we were coming from. So hopefully it's a good report. That's something
Yep.
we could use to improve here.
All right. The only other, I do have a couple of things that I just want to throw out there. All right. Number one, I did my first answer. We're going to invite the parking authority. The other question that I have for you all is, do you think that we have anything left over from 2021 that hasn't been addressed or has fallen by the wayside or whatever? I mean, signage or, street cleaning or whatever. Is there anything that you can think of, or if you look through your notes, that you can come up with that you think has fallen by the wayside? If you do, then let's just talk about it at the next meeting. All right. Okay. Let's see. And also too, one of the things that for me, knowledge is a little bit dangerous. All right. And a couple of weeks ago, I attended one of those borough.org meetings where they were talking about protocols for council meeting and planning meetings. And one of the comments that stuck in my mind was that the person who presented suggests that we do a protocol for planning meetings. And number one, I think it has to do with the Sunshine Act. And number two, I'm certainly obviously not aware of all the protocols that need to be addressed, even though I do have my Roberts book for dummies. So anyway, so what I'd like to do, I'd like to ask your opinion. Do you think that we need to address a protocol for planning meetings?
So when you say like sunshine, I mean, I know like on council, that there's a rule.
correct.
Does that apply to, people like on planning commission?
Well, according to the person that spoke, yes. And the thing is, especially now with everything happening via Zoom. All right. Identifying yourself, giving your street address and making sure that that goes into the notes. All right. And then the other thing that stuck out to me was addressing the speakers.
Mhm.
Actually speakers signing up and identifying themselves as they
Yeah,
speak.
you're right, because like we assume, we're all sitting here and Bob's talking, but it was, we all know who he is, but yeah, normally, yeah, you would say, state your name and your address.
Right.
So-
Right. So I just think I'm a stickler for getting things out on paper. All right. So
You want to
that,
ask Bob to state his name and his address for this
Right.
meeting and see,
right. Yeah.
just, it's, if you're
Yeah.
gonna do that, might as well start today.
All right. Okay. And then last but not least, any comments about that?
I think there's, I think there's some, I think it's a good idea to add some formality to the program. Just for, just to keep things going and just to be able to
Right.
keep track of things as we move along.
Right.
One of the things that was talked about in that meeting, in that program that you were just mentioned was, a lot of commissions have time limits
Right.
for speakers, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever it is. And I don't know if that's something we want to consider or not. I just,
Well,
there's an upside and a downside to it.
right.
And-
Personally, I think upfront, if we do it up front, because we're going to be busy. We're going to definitely be, that's just with comprehensive plan updates that we're going to be busy with. That's not including other business that we have to deal with. So I just think that we do formalize it and put it on paper.
What do you think, Larry?
Oh, is
Well, I
Larry
think-
here? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the protocols you're talking about, I know we had those in place at one time.
Okay.
I'm not gonna tell you that they were rigidly enforced, the time limit on speakers, identifying, their street address and whatnot. That's something that we've done over the years. I think it's probably more likely to happen in a live meeting where we're all in the same room than it is on these Zoom meetings sometimes. But, it doesn't hurt to have a little bit of protocol, if you will.
Okay. All right. Well, that's the perfect segue to my next question. Do we want to start doing in-person meetings at the Borough Building? Does anybody have objections or any thoughts as to what we can do, if we should do it?
I have reservations,
Okay.
primarily because I've got a very high-risk individual living in the house with us.
Correct. And Joe and I were talking earlier, and I wanted to know whether or not you could attend via Zoom. All right. And if we can accomplish that, it's really, it doesn't matter to me. I have both of my vaccinations. All right. So I know that if we do the 6, and the only thing I come home to is my dog. All right. So, I don't have any outside influences that I have to deal with. So I completely understand your situation. But anybody else have any thoughts as to whether or not we should go back into person meetings?
Excuse me, Justine, can I comment on this?
Who's talking?
No, not yet. Not yet, afterwards. Let us finish this.
Okay, fine.
Justine, for my part, I miss the in-person. I want to be very sensitive that everybody's got their,
Right,
different situations and comfort levels. I have no reservations if we go back to in person with, I'm expecting the normal safety protocols that are in place, but I'd be all for it.
well, the one thing that I did notice when council was having their in-person meetings, that the audio was less than stellar. I mean, you can, so I don't know, Joe, was that taken care of, the audio?
Slightly better. We have microphones, but it doesn't completely, it won't be to the quality that you have
Yeah,
right here.
see, that's the joy about the Zoom. You can hear everybody, so. I don't know, do you guys want to think about it? The only thing I can say, if you haven't watched any of the council meetings where they were actually held in person, then maybe go back on YouTube and listen to them, because they were very muffled.
Yeah, that's the downside for the public. I mean, for us, it's for selfish reasons, we want to be in the same room
Right.
discussing stuff. But for the public, yeah, and they need to see this. So
Right, right.
That's the big reservation for
Right.
me, I guess.
Okay.
And if it feels like that should be something fairly easy to remedy, no, Joe? Like with an operational budget that we get a recorder or a
I
microphone
don't know
that
how many
plugs into.
microphones do you need, like we had microphones in there for the room, not, I run it off of a laptop.
Well, why don't we look into that and see if there's somehow we can get better audio? And everybody think about, whether or not we want, for the time being, want to stay with Zoom. So, I mean, do we have to have the meeting at the Borough Council building? At the Borough building? Can we go to the fire department, or is that reserved for extra large meetings?
We could ask, I know there's discussions of moving borough council meetings to the fire hall so that
Mhm.
social distancing could be done.
I don't know, okay. Any other comments?
Yeah, personally, Justine, I'd be fine with live meetings. Like you, I've had both my shots, so.
Yeah. Okay, but again, it's going back to what the public needs to hear and how they hear it. So that's my only issue, because it was frustrating. The two that I saw is very frustrating.
Mhm.
So,
Even if we have a meeting for the commission, if we've got public, and we've got the social distancing and take all the precautions, if we've got a number of people from the public that want to come in and join us, or we're having a public hearing or something, that could push the limits or could
right.
make a little dicey. That's
So could you, if you had somebody that wanted to speak, because I know, like, just for example, like Allegheny County, when they have their the Allegheny Council meetings, if you want to speak, you have to be on the agenda, if I'm not mistaken. You can't
Right.
just show up at an
Right.
Allegheny County Council meeting and
Same
just
with
say, hey,
Upper
I'm,
St. Clair.
what? Oh, or even, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So you just can't just show up. So you would have to basically tell, email the borough and say, look, there's a meeting tomorrow. I want to be on the agenda to speak, or on the list to speak as a visitor.
Right.
then
And
you
again,
know-
that goes back to the protocol, establishing
Exactly.
what's included in
So
the
then you
protocol.
could have, if you're gonna, if you're gonna have, 5 planning commission members, our borough manager, and maybe 2 or 3 visitors if needed. And so you want, and then anybody else that wants to watch the meeting can watch it on Zoom.
Okay, all right, well, it's
And
sort
that
of,
way you don't have to put it on Zoom. You could just do like your regular camera or whatever.
right,
I guess I appreciate the point too, Dale, but 7 years of history, I can't remember us ever pushing the occupancy boundaries of the borough building for our planning commission meetings. I'd love to get there, but
Yeah.
not sure it's something I've seen to date.
Yeah, council meetings a different thing. I mean, there's been times where the council meetings, they were outside in the hall, but that's a little different.
Yeah, yeah.
But, all right, so any other comments? So then I'm going to give Bob Fryer 2 minutes.
Well, I got
Bob?
one quick question before, Justine. For interviewing the firms for the comprehensive, and Joe, do we know how many, we have, I think 6 different proposals. Are we gonna interview 3, or what are we gonna try to narrow it down to for the interviews?
Is
That hasn't been decided yet. Let me get with the president of council and, but
Okay.
I'm thinking 3.
Okay, that's what I thought, just curious.
Justine, I do have one comment.
Yeah.
And I came a little bit late to the meeting, but was there any discussion or any acknowledgement of the passing of Pat DeBlasio Sr.?
No, sorry.
That's all right. I mean, I just wanted to take the opportunity because Pat was on planning commission for many years. I think most of you are aware of that. He was very much an out of the box thinker. And whether you agreed or disagreed with Pat, you always had to have your thinking cap on when he was talking.
Yeah.
Truthfully, it was a lot of fun to listen to him.
He's a very
He always
intelligent man.
had the borough's best interests at heart. That man gave a lot, and I think that I'm hoping that the council can see its way fit to do something, even if just a moment of silence at their next meeting for Pat.
Well, I know at the meeting they just had, they did.
Okay.
They spoke of him very fondly.
Yeah, Pat was a lot of fun. He really was. He was the original out of the box thinker.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so I'm going to give Bob Fryer 2 minutes.
That's long enough. I just want to mention one other thing about Pat DeBlasio. I was involved with the planning on his funeral service and so on. There were hundreds of visitors at the funeral home, and the family for the funeral mass over at Holy Child Church, I forget the name of it now. The family had 2 opera type singers, a guy and the girl, and the funeral service was the most moving I've ever attended. It was really something to behold. At any rate, I just want to mention about the importance of having some face-to-face meetings, since you guys are going to be involved in the planning and the future of the community. The face-to-face meetings with certain safeguards about the COVID-19 flu, it would allow presentations to be made of drawings where everybody could look at the same drawing, and you could have two-way conversations between your planners and the drawings, or myself and the drawings, or whatever. And the third thing I want to mention is, I don't know what member of the commission cited that a comprehensive plan should provide benefits to the surrounding communities. That's the key to everything. If you guys come up with a plan that will end the mile-long columns of traffic that sit outside Bridgeville trying to get through, that is as much of a deterrent for the businesses and people in Suffolk, Collier, and Upper St. Clair, you won't have to worry about the money. But remember, Washington Avenue is a PennDOT road, and Bar Hill Road is an Allegheny County road. If you do it right, you'll be paying very little for some spectacular improvements you can request for those two main thoroughfares. And again, thanks very much for allowing time to talk to you guys tonight.
All right. Thank you, Bob. Thank you. All right. Any other questions, comments? I'd summarize, but I've lost my notes. So Anyway, a motion to adjourn,
I'll make the motion.
second?
Second.
All right. Well, that wasn't too bad. Thank you.
Thank you, Justine.
Well done,
Yeah,
Justine.
thank,
All right,
Justine.
thank
you,
God this is
Justine.
on
See ya.
video.